lovely to be here. I want to have this be very interactive for everybody. I am that kind of person. I'm not fancy, and I also do not believe in the one magic answer. So I'm going to give you food for thought. We're going to practice some things. And then I would love, as we go, for you to put things into the chat. And also any questions you have. And also, if you would like to unmute yourself, I'm cool with that. If you want to unmute yourself to ask a question or to answer something that I'm going to ask, I'm good with that too. So we're here to talk about leadership. And this has been basically the most terrifying word in my life. Way back when I started being in regular jobs, I thought leadership, ugh, and I had this image. So the very first thing I would love for us to do is to think about what is the usual image that we have of what leadership is and what it means. And the reason we're doing that is because what I want to do today is completely redefine it. Make it something that's more flexible and that's more like you and you and you and you. It's not a one size fits all sort of spacesuit that we have to cram ourselves into, because that doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for us as women, and it doesn't work for us as human beings, because we're not machine parts, right? Right. So I would love it if you would put into the chat what it is that you think of when you hear the word leader. And I will start us off by telling you that here are some of mine. Somebody who's controlling, somebody who's a man, somebody who is bossy, somebody who, yes, very much. Thank you, Patrice. Somebody who takes charge, makes things happen. Anything else, any other sorts of emotional things? Somebody, is this somebody who is really connected emotionally, or is this somebody who's, yes, being your own boss? Absolutely. And I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, Chantal, and say, what does that actually mean? What does it actually mean to be your own boss, right? Because an organizer I'm seeing, yep. Okay, Michelle has an interesting one, follows you. There are things called servant leaders. There's something called servant leadership. No, that doesn't mean that you lie down under people's feet and go step on me. It does mean that your purpose in leading is not power over, it's power with, which is something that we really want to aspire to doing and learn to do. So why would I even bring any of this stuff to you? Why would we even talk about leadership? And why am I talking about leadership? The reason I'm talking about a shift is because the old way has just about killed us. Anybody who's ever worked in a place knows that there are rules that we have followed in order to adapt, in order to keep our jobs, in order not to get in trouble. And what has happened is we've squashed ourselves. We've really squashed who we are, our creativity, our innovation. And it's not just us. It's not like I went into a business and I went, I think I will put myself down. It is the nature of the structure of what we're doing. The system is a top-down command and control system. It benefits the people who are at the top the most, obviously, financially, but it doesn't benefit them interpersonally, and it doesn't benefit them with their personal and spiritual growth. It really does not. It's just that for us as women, we really get the bottom of the barrel because we are paid less, and all of the things that you probably already know about what it takes to be a woman in this culture of ours that is growing and changing so much now. Well, the good news of this time period is that things are really changing. And I'm hearing from a lot of places that what business is honoring is empathy, emotional intelligence, and innovation, instinct, intuition, interpersonal communication. I mean, these are very, very feminine qualities, right? Extremely feminine qualities. But to the degree that we have this idea about leadership that is extremely masculine or extremely inflexible or extremely, whether we realize it or not, anti-woman, in that, oh, don't be so emotional, right? You've probably heard that more times than you want to even think about. Don't be so emotional. Don't cry. Anger's okay, but don't be so sensitive. Well, sensitivity is what is needed now. But is that the way it is across the whole thing? No, no. And so there are two sides to this that I work on. I work on the side that tries to enlighten the C-suite, the leadership teams, to go, guess what? We're humans. And then I work with women to say, guess what? We need to come home to ourselves. We need to do a certain number of things I'm going to talk to you about in just a second. And we need to come together. We need to work together on crossing this brand new street into taking our place at the front of the class, and not always either being put or putting ourselves at the back of the room, or sometimes even outside of the room. So what we're going to do today is we're going to redefine leadership for ourselves. And then I'm going to help you experience a new way of looking at things, a couple of things that can lead to transformation. And transformation, by the way, is not like an on-off switch. It's not like, I get it, I'm freed forever. You might get an actual moment of like, oh my God. But you're then going to build on that, because we always want to go bigger and deeper. There's a question here. A good leader helps to accentuate one's strengths and minimizes the teammates' weaknesses. That's very, very interesting. I don't know if you know about StrengthsFinders, but that's what that reminds me of, because the StrengthsFinders philosophy is we should all do what we do best, because that's where all of our passion is. That's where all of our abilities are. So instead of minimizing teammates' weaknesses, actually, I would say making sure that where there are weaknesses, let's say I have a weakness with organization, but this woman that I work with, who's an absolute crackerjack, she can come in and either help do that while I help her with some other aspect, or we can switch it all around so she can do the parts that she's really good at, that she loves. So that's a great comment. So here's what we're going to do. We looked at our different ideas about what leadership is. And the question that I have for you now is, are you a leader, and do you know what it means to be a leader for yourself? Are you a leader? Do you think of yourself that way? Or does it give you a bit of a sort of hitch in your giddy up? Like, I don't know, man, I don't know if I'm really a leader. And when you think of leadership, do you think of it as business only? Or do you realize that you are the leader of your life? And that is one thing we are never taught. How do you actually be the empowered, loving, kind, grit-filled, fabulously creative leader of your life? How do you do that? We come into this world and they go, well, here are the rules. Don't lose your job. Be nice. Be nice is a big one for women. Be nice. Be smart. Show up when you're supposed to show up. And that's cool. Irene says she sees herself more and more as a leader. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Our identity needs to come from really so deeply inside of ourselves. So again, there are many layers to this. And you may go, oh, I get it this one day. And a year later, or a week later, or a minute later, you may see another aspect of it. And it just deepens, and it makes you wiser and wiser and more comfortable with being very visible, very present, really having a lot of self-awareness, and not feeling that thing that we are socially schooled to do, which is to sort of hang back, to apologize, things like that. So the traditional, you're the matriarch with your siblings. Yeah. The thing is, I'm wondering, Patrice, if you're the matriarch with your siblings, what aspects of that do you bring into the rest of your world, the non-family part of your world? It's interesting. I've worked with people who say, well, I'm not following rules. I break every rule. And it's a tricky one. It's really tricky because if we are even breaking the rules, sometimes we are stuck in them. The idea of really breaking with the rules is to say, who am I? What does this do for me? This belief that I have, or this behavior that I have, how can I use it in other ways? And where do I get tripped up? I want to talk to you about a couple of things that can get us tripped up, because I want to lead you through a physical exercise and a verbal exercise. But right before I do that, I just want to ask you this question. Michelle says, I'm the follower. And I just want to say, for those of you who really are not feeling a draw to be like a massive leader, or, you know, like a thought leader, or start your own business, I mean, you don't have to do that to embrace leadership, because the leadership really is personal, professional, spiritual in our individual ways, our individual lives. We are all of that. And to take ourselves and say, I'm this, no, wait, now I'm this, no, wait, now I'm this, it's all at the same time. So learning to do things that we're not taught how to do in this culture, loving kindness, we're not taught how to do that. We're taught to be very hard on ourselves, right? Oh, you're not pretty enough. You're not thin enough. You're not white enough. You're not this enough. You're not that. Whatever it is, you're not X enough, right? And so even if we sort of put on our armor and we go out into the world and we say, I'm not going to believe in that stuff, inside, we still have the voices, and we still have, yeah, it's many of us, it's most of us. And that's what I want to get to. I'm going to tell you why you don't have to maybe feel so bad about that in just a second. So if you see yourself as a leader, and you think a leader is like, if you're like me, I'll use me as an example, because I have no problem with that. If you think that the leader is this old white guy who's like merciless and he doesn't care about your emotions, and I mean, this is a complete craziness, because people, even the worst bosses I've ever had, are still human. But anyway, if I see a leader as that, and then I think, well, I'm trying to become more and more and more of a leader of me and of others every single day, I'm not going to feel too good about leadership, right? I'm going to be like, well, it's not that good a thing. Do I really want to be that? I don't know. So I have to redefine, you have to redefine what leadership is, so that you can do the things that we, especially as women, have not been taught to do, like speak up. And speak up in such a way that we'll get heard. Speak up in such a that we go, yeah, I know you're not listening, but I'm going to ask you to please listen. To lean in, as Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook says, so that we can express our opinions. Hey, so that we can even know what we want. Sometimes we don't even know what we want because we're that far away from ourselves. We're so much into people pleasing and trying to just survive, get by. And even like naming my feelings. At one point, I didn't know what my feelings were. And that was very, very confusing, because then people would say to me, well, you're to this, you're to that. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's hard to navigate the world when you don't know where you stand, so that you can decide where you want to stand with other people. So we need to do this. We have to hear ourselves. We have to receive ourselves. We have to experience. Experience is the thing. Underline, bold, italic. We have to experience ourselves outside of the norm, so that we know who we really are. And we know that we're strong enough to stand up to those parts of us that go, yeah, I just want to please you. I was raised to be a people pleaser in a big, big way. My parents were professional musicians. And so we always had house parties with all these rich people and semi-rich people, you know, running around. And there I was 4 years old, 6 years old. with a little tray of gin and tonics. And I mean, I knew how to people please early. And so coming into a place where you say, you know, I'm going to speak my truth and I'm going to do it as well as I can and with a lot of respect. And if people can't hear me or they don't want to hear me, that's really not my problem. That is a big shift from people pleasing. I mean, that's huge. And it takes a lot of untying of the knots in the head. So let me tell you why you're struggling and why it's not your fault. And I forgot to get the link, but I will make sure that it gets there somehow. There's a wonderful, wonderful 45-minute movie called Killing Us Softly, and then the number 4. You can find it on Vimeo. Highly, highly recommend you go see this thing because it came out in 2010. When I saw it, I realized what I'm going to tell you. You're struggling not because of your issues. Now, my just telling you that, you're going to go like, yeah, that's nice. Watch the movie. I think it'll help you on that journey of going, oh my God, I've been brainwashed. I don't actually have to believe as strongly as I have in these limitations, as in they're not yours to keep. So what's happened in this culture, and it happens through advertising and it happens through enculturation, and it just happens. There are social shoulds. You should be nice. You should be agreeable. You should be really appropriate. You should, right? And the problem is this stuff gets in long before we have language. So all we know is that we have this as if these are beliefs because they've been put into us before we had any language to say, well, hold on, let me ask a question. Okay. So we've been psychological, everybody has, okay, men and women both. Everybody's been psychologically and socially conditioned. I mean, it makes sense. You come into the world, you kind of want to survive. So you adapt. But what happens in our bodies is that we become attuned to these energetic settings. So we muscularly, energetically, it's amazing. So if you have ever done something that was outside your comfort zone, you probably had what's called the afterburn, where you went, oh my God. And you just felt like crumpling up and you just like your nerve endings were all pushing out of your skin. You're like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Oh my God. And depending on how emotional and theatrical you are, that would be me. You'll do it either for a few minutes or for a few days. You're like, no, why did I? So the trick is to get comfortable with stepping outside, breathing, feeling all of those feelings, talking it out with friends, and then repeating the exercise. This is what has to happen. So let's do a couple of things because experience has everything else beat. Now, here's the deal. I want you, please, to think, how do you feel? I want you to ask yourself, how do I feel? And just put a few words into the chat. How do I feel right now? Do you feel, okay, tired and excited? Very cool. Anybody else? Has anybody got any physical sensations? Like I feel like I have pain, or my back is in knots, or my stomach is upset, or do we have anything like that going on? Just ask yourself. Emma from Facebook says a bit overwhelmed. Well, you know, honey, I'd be surprised if everybody wasn't overwhelmed. These are trying times, to say the least. So I hear you. Now, what I'd like you to do, and thank you guys for answering. So now what I'd like you to do, wherever you are, lonely and depressed. Oh God, yes, job hunting will make you anxious. Yes, it will. And grateful for all I have. Yeah, okay. These are beautiful this is beautiful that you are so self-aware. Okay, but the question, right? The question is, what do I do about it? So there are different ways. And when I work with people, we try different ways until we find what works. One of them is, and I'm going to ask you to do this right now. Can you just straighten up? Can you just straighten up? And if you feel, you know, like, put your shoulders back and take the attitude of, I'm a queen, and let yourself be a really kind queen, right? So we're not going to be the queen that goes off with their heads. We're not that queen. Take a breath and feel what it might be like if you were that person who was so comfortable in herself and so caring about all the people who depend on you for love, for guidance, for direction. And does this change anything either about how you feel or about how you think about yourself? Did someone have a question? I heard somebody unmute, I think. No, okay. So just when you change the state of your body, it can be very obvious, but it can also be very subtle. I went through 30 years of clinical depression, okay? So I absolutely know what it's like to feel like I think I would just disappear into the couch and I'm not going to have a lot of oomph to do anything, and I don't deserve it. A lot of negative, a lot of self-loathing, right? Getting up, getting out, finding that thing that will even just slightly switch your energy. It could be, and this is going to be very individual. Some people may feel, oh, good, listening to music helps, and talking to people is a big one for me. Talking to people has saved my butt a lot, but also getting to be really talking to myself, being kind to myself. I mean, this is work that has gone so deep, and has gone deeper because of COVID, because I'm here with myself in my apartment. So, but yes, definitely those two, Michelle. So you might feel a shift in terms of how you feel. You might find a shift in terms of how you're thinking. You might be aware, if you're somebody who's aware of sort of subtler energies, you might feel a little more light coming in. Like I said, very, very individual. But try it the next time you're feeling bad about yourself. Notice how you're holding yourself. And then see if what you're doing is maybe you're hunching over, or maybe you're off balance. A lot of times when you are feeling awkward, you've probably got your body in such a state that either someone could easily push you over, or you're just sort of pretzeled up. Let yourself in that moment take on the posture of empowerment. Okay, so that's the physical. I know we're running out of time, but I want to just say one more thing. I'm going to do something vocal with you. When you ask a question, how do you ask the question in terms of the sound of it? Usually when we ask a question, and there are several ways, but usually our voice goes up at the end. Are you going to the store? We don't go, are you going to the store? Right? Are you going to the store? Can you pick me that up? Could you pick that up for me? I'd really appreciate it. Can you do that? Our voice tends to go up. What we women do a lot is we use that question thing when it's not a question. And the problem with that is that it disempowers us. Let me explain. The point of a question behind the curtain is to say, I don't have the answer. I'm not presupposing the answer. I'm respecting you and leaving room for you to give me information. So please, would you kindly tell me, how do you feel? Now, so we're putting ourselves in the back seat, but for a good reason, as a way of clearing the path to let somebody speak to us. If we go, I'm going to the store and I'm getting some clothing and I'm coming back at 7, with your voice going up at the end of each one, what's happening is you're putting yourself in the back seat for the wrong reason. You are showing self-doubt. It's very subtle, right? So if you catch yourself, if you hear yourself, and so I remember a time where I did not know I was doing it. And even when an acting teacher told me, you're doing it. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then I kept listening and I finally heard it. Oh my God. So if you catch yourself at it, or if you just decide, I'm going to make sure that when I say a statement, I say it like a statement, you can find greater feelings of leadership, of self-empowerment, and it will build your self-confidence like you wouldn't believe, because you're paying attention to you. You're giving yourself the reward of saying, I'm important enough to really take up space in my own world. So anybody have any questions before we finish? What can I answer for anybody? And while I'm waiting for any questions, I'll just mention that if you want to get in touch with me, I think probably the girls have all of that information in there, but you can, I'd like to offer those of you who are watching a free 20-minute session to talk about what's up and see if I can give you some direction on where you need to go. So all you would need to do is to hit me up at, oh, and it's not even in here, shoot, support@goodbyegoodgirl.com. I'll type it in here. So how do you achieve the goal to become a leader? Chantel asks. So Chantel, you're asking, are you asking how to become a leader in business or a leader in your life? Or are you looking, is it more of a question about empowerment?
In business, in
life.
In life.
In life, okay.
In business also.
And in business also, okay. The very first thing I want to say to you, and it's, gosh, this year, I've grown so much in this way. I came out of the corporate world, right? I had 30 years in corporation, so I understood things in terms of goals, right? I mean, that's what they teach us. There's a concrete goal. You have this thing that you have to do to get to it. And then you work hard and you get to it. That is not the role that you play if you are an entrepreneur. It is not the role that you play if you want to be your own woman, even if you're working in a corporation. So you want to first and foremost look at it as a journey that is a personal development journey, a personal growth journey. So that as you go through the process, every day is its own kind of success. Because if we wait until we get there, like, oh, my business, it's launched, I have $1 million, I'm finally there, I can finally feel good. It doesn't really work. We need, as humans, we need to feel good. We need to feel that we're achieving as we go. And working in a business, the way that we need to achieve our goal to become leader, we've got to make some big decisions about whether we want to, what do we want to give up in order to be a leader in that environment? Because the environment itself is different. Okay, she's an aspiring director, producer, and writer. Love it. Love it. So you already have a real leadership job. Honestly, you are going to have to go very, very deep. And it's an exciting journey. You have to, how do you achieve your goal? One step at a time. Pay attention to the question that you have each day, like whatever that question is that you might be grappling with today. Like, God, I really wish I could talk to a director. Like, I wish I had access to a director that I could talk to, and just for informational purposes, just somebody to say, God, I want to be a director, so tell me, what's it like? You know, and you will find that when you focus like that, you're going to start to draw people in that are going to drop like little pearls of wisdom, or you'll suddenly find that there's a piece of information that you go, oh, wait a second, I never thought of that. That makes me think I could get in touch with so-and-so and they might know. And so you're furthering your journey. That is leadership. That is leadership. Leadership is really not, here I have the answer. Leadership, especially in the feminine vernacular, is to be in process, to be unfolding, to be blossoming, learning, because your business is you. You are your business. If you die, your business dies. So you're not trying to fit yourself into a business. You are birthing something every day. I hope that answers some part of your question at least. Anybody else? Oh, you're very welcome. If I can help you further, just drop me an email. Yeah, I've been an actor for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Yeah, you know, being a woman and being a leader, we have a 99.9% example of the masculine view of leadership, and it's really not healthy. So we get to come in and redefine, and if you can find women to come together with to decide, what does it mean? How do I do this? Then that's awesome. That's going to work great for you. Thank you.